The rain drums against my window, a steady rhythm that should lull me to sleep. Instead, it only serves to heighten my senses, making me acutely aware of every creak and groan of this old house. I've always been a bit of an insomniac, but tonight feels different. There's a heaviness in the air, a sense of foreboding that I can't shake. I reach for my phone, seeking distraction in the glow of its screen. As I scroll mindlessly through social media, a notification catches my eye. It's from an app one don't remember downloading, simply titled Night Whispers. Curiosity gets the better of me, and I tap on it. The screen goes black, and then white text begins to appear, as if someone is typing in real time. Are you having trouble sleeping? Perhaps a story will help. I should close the app. I should put my phone down and try to sleep. But something compels me to keep reading. Once upon a time, there was a woman who couldn't sleep. She lived alone in a house much like yours, surrounded by the sounds of rain and wind. One night, she heard a tapping at her window. A loud crack of thunder makes me jump, my heart racing. I look up from my phone, half expecting to see a face peering in through the rain-streaked glass. There's nothing there, of course. Just the storm and the darkness beyond. I return to the story, my fingers trembling slightly as I scroll. The woman tried to ignore the tapping, telling herself it was just a branch in the wind. But it persisted, growing louder and more insistent. Tap, tap, tap. Another crack of thunder, and this time, I swear I hear something else. A faint tapping, barely audible over the rain. It's probably nothing, I tell myself. Just the house settling, or a loose shutter in the wind. The story continues. Finally, the woman couldn't stand it anymore. She got out of bed and approached the window, her heart pounding in her chest. As she reached for the curtain, the tapping stopped. For a moment, all was silent. And then, my phone screen goes black. I tap it frantically, trying to get the story back, but nothing happens. And that's when I hear it again. The tapping. It's not coming from my window, though. It's coming from my bedroom door. Hello? I call out, my voice barely above a whisper. No response, just another tap. 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 I slowly get out of bed, my bare feet touching the cold wooden floor. The tapping continues as I approach the door, growing louder with each step. My hand hovers over the doorknob, trembling. Who's there? I ask, trying to sound braver than I feel. A voice responds, so faint I can barely hear it over the rain. Let me in. Please. It's so cold out here. It sounds like a child, lost and afraid. But that's impossible. I live alone, and all the doors are locked. Who are you? I ask, my hand still on the doorknob. Please, the voice says again, a little louder this time. I'm so cold. So hungry. Let me in. Against my better judgment, I turn the knob and open the door a crack. The hallway beyond is pitch black, darker than it should be even on a stormy night. Hello? I call out again. Suddenly, a hand shoots through the gap in the door. It's pale and skeletal, with long, dirty fingernails. I try to slam the door shut, but the hand grabs my wrist, its grip icy cold and inhumanly strong. Thank you for inviting me in, a voice hisses, no longer sounding anything like a child. The door flies open, and I catch a glimpse of something tall and emaciated, with glowing red eyes and rows of sharp teeth. I scream and stumble backward, falling onto the floor. The creature looms over me, its form flickering like a bad TV signal, sometimes looking almost human, other times like something out of a nightmare. "What are you?" I gasp, scrambling backward until I hit the wall. The thing tilts its head, an unsettling smile spreading across its face. "I am what you invited. I am the story you chose to let in." It takes a step toward me, its body contorting in ways that defy physics. "But don't worry," it says, its voice now a chorus of whispers. "This is just the beginning of our tale." A flash of lightning illuminates the room, and in that brief moment, I see dozens of similar creatures crawling in through my window, oozing from the walls, rising up from the floorboards. "You wanted a story," they chant in unison. "Now you're in one." I close my eyes, praying this is just a nightmare, that I'll wake up any moment. But when I open them again, the creatures are still there, drawing closer. One of them, the first one that entered, leans in close, its breath icy against my ear. "Don't be afraid," it whispers. "Fear is just the first chapter. We have so much more to show you." Its hand, now more claw-like, reaches for my face. I try to scream, but no sound comes out. The storm outside intensifies, the rain now a deafening roar. "Shall we begin?" the creature asks, its red eyes boring into mine. I want to say no. I want to run, to fight, to wake up from this nightmare. But some part of me, some dark, curious part that I've always tried to ignore, finds myself nodding. The creature's smile widens, impossibly wide. "Excellent," it says. "Then let the real story commence." The room starts to spin, the walls melting away like wax. I feel myself falling into a darkness deeper than any I've ever known. The last thing I hear before the darkness swallows me completely is the creature's voice. "Remember, dear reader, you chose this. And now, you can never leave." As I plummet through the inky void, images flash before my eyes. Glimpses of other worlds, other horrors. A decrepit hospital where the patients are the doctors. A forest where the trees whisper your deepest secrets. A mirror that shows not your reflection, but the monster you could become. I land hard on what feels like solid ground, though I can see nothing but blackness around me. Slowly, shapes begin to form in the darkness. I'm in a long corridor, the walls covered in cracked, yellowing wallpaper. Doors line both sides, each one a different color, a different style. "Choose," the creature's voice echoes from everywhere and nowhere. Every door leads to a new nightmare. Every choice leads deeper into the story. I stand on shaky legs, looking from door to door. Which one should I choose? The red door that seems to be pulsing like a heartbeat? The black door with strange symbols carved into its surface? The white door that looks innocent enough, but emanates a feeling of wrongness? As I contemplate my choices, I hear something. Footsteps, coming from the far end of the corridor. Slow, deliberate steps, growing louder with each passing second. "Choose quickly," the voice urges, "or the choice will be made for you." The footsteps are getting closer. I can hear heavy breathing now, and the scrape of something being dragged across the floor. My hand reaches out, almost of its own accord, towards one of the doors. As my fingers touch the knob, I hear a chuckle behind me. "Ah," the voice says, sounding pleased. "An interesting choice." Let's see where this chapter takes us, shall we? I turn the knob, the door creaking open to reveal a swirling vortex of colors and shapes. The footsteps behind me break into a run. With no other choice, I step through the door, plunging into a new unknown. The last thing I hear before the door slams shut behind me is the creature's voice. Remember, this is the story you chose. And it's far from over. As I fall through the vortex, I can't help but wonder, how many more choices will I have to make? How many more horrors will I have to face? And most importantly, will I ever find my way back to reality, or am I now trapped forever in this nightmare of my own making? The vortex spins faster, reality bending and twisting around me. I catch glimpses of other stories, other terrors waiting to unfold. A possessed doll with eyes that follow your every move. A phone that receives calls from the dead. A book that rewrites itself, changing the past with every page turned. As I hurtle towards my next destination, one thought echoes in my mind: this is just the beginning. The real horror is yet to come. The vortex spits me out onto cold, damp grass. I'm in a graveyard, ancient headstones looming in the moonlight. The air is thick with fog, and I can barely see a few feet in front of me. My heart races as I realize I'm no longer in my own world, but somewhere far more sinister. I stumble to my feet, the wet grass squelching beneath my bare feet. The silence is oppressive, broken only by the occasional hoot of an owl or the rustle of leaves in the wind. As I take a tentative step forward, I hear a whisper, so faint I'm not sure if it's real or just my imagination. "Welcome, storyteller," it says, the words seeming to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. "We've been waiting for you." A chill runs down my spine. "Who's there?" I call out, my voice sounding small and frightened in the vast darkness. No answer comes, but I feel eyes on me, watching from the shadows between the graves. I start walking faster, desperate to find a way out of this nightmare realm. But with each step, the fog grows thicker, until I can barely see my hand in front of my face. Suddenly, I collide with something solid. As I reach out to steady myself, my hands touch cold, rough stone. A mausoleum looms before me, its door slightly ajar. A faint light flickers from within. Every instinct screams at me to run, but where would I go? The fog has closed in completely, leaving the mausoleum as my only option. With trembling hands, I push the door open and step inside. The interior is lit by dozens of candles, their flames dancing and casting eerie shadows on the walls. In the center of the room stands a figure in a hooded cloak, its back to me. "Hello?" I say, my voice barely above a whisper. The figure turns, and I stifle a scream. Where its face should be is only a swirling void, like a miniature version of the vortex that brought me here. "Ah, the new arrival," it says, its voice echoing strangely in the small space. "Are you ready to become part of the story?" I take a step back, my back pressing against the cold stone door. "What do you mean?" "I don't want to be part of any story. I just want to go home." The figure chuckles, a sound like dry leaves rustling. "But you've already begun. The moment you opened that app, you became one of us. A living story, forever seeking new chapters, new horrors to experience and share." As it speaks, the walls of the mausoleum begin to shift and change. Images flicker across the stone surface, scenes from my life, but twisted and dark. I see myself as a child, hiding under the covers from monsters that are all too real. I see my first heartbreak, but the pain is literal, my chest cracking open to reveal a writhing mass of tentacles where my heart should be. "Stop it!" I cry out, covering my eyes. But the images continue, projected on the inside of my eyelids. "I don't want this." The hooded figure glides closer, its void face inches from mine. "But you do. Deep down, in the darkest corners of your soul, you crave these stories. The fear, the adrenaline, the brush with forces beyond your understanding. Why else would you have opened that app? Why else would you have read that first story?" I want to deny it, but a part of me knows it's true. I've always been drawn to horror, to the thrill of being scared while knowing I was safe. But this is something else entirely. The figure reaches out a hand, its fingers elongating into writhing tentacles. "Join us," it whispers. "Become the story. Let your fears take shape and live forever in the minds of others." As the tentacles inch closer to my face, I make a split-second decision. I spin around and yank the mausoleum door open, plunging back into the fog-shrouded graveyard. I run blindly, stumbling over hidden graves and roots. Behind me, I hear a chorus of whispers, growing louder with each passing second. The fog swirls around me, taking on monstrous shapes, grasping hands, gnashing teeth, eyes that glow with an unholy light. Just when I think I can't run any further, I see a glimmer of light ahead. A doorway, floating in midair, its edges hazy and indistinct. Without hesitation, I leap towards it, praying it leads anywhere but here. I tumble through the doorway and find myself back in my bedroom. The rain still patters against the window, and my phone lies innocently on the bedside table. For a moment, I think it was all just a vivid nightmare. But then I notice something's off. The room is a mirror image of what it should be, everything reversed. And there, in the corner, a shadow moves in a way shadows shouldn't. I grab my phone, my hands shaking so badly I can barely hold it. The Night Whispers app is still open, but now there's a new message on the screen: "Congratulations. You've completed the first level. Are you ready for the next chapter?" My finger hovers over the screen. Every fiber of my being screams to delete the app, to throw the phone away and never look back. But that small, dark part of me, the part that craves the thrill of fear, urges me to continue. As I debate with myself, I notice something in the mirror across the room. My reflection is moving independently, a wicked grin spreading across its face. It raises a finger to its lips in a shushing motion, then points to the phone in my hand. I look down at the screen, and new text appears: "The choice is yours. But remember, once you're part of the story, there's no true escape. Even if you walk away now, the narrative will find you. In your dreams, in the shadows, in the spaces between heartbeats. You'll always be looking over your shoulder, wondering when the next chapter will begin." My reflection in the mirror nods encouragingly, its grin growing impossibly wide. I realize with a start that it's not my reflection at all, but something wearing my face like a mask. The thing in the mirror places its hand against the glass, and to my horror, the surface begins to ripple like water. Fingers emerge, reaching towards me. In a panic, I look back at my phone. 2 options have appeared on the screen. 1. Continue the story. 2. Try to escape my heart pounding. I make my choice, knowing that whatever I decide will change everything. As my finger descends towards the screen, the room around me begins to warp and shift. The walls breathe, the floor ripples, and the thing wearing my face in the mirror lets out a laugh that sounds like breaking glass. This is it. the point of no return. Whatever happens next, I know my life will never be the same. The story has me in its grasp, and it's not letting go. As my finger touches the screen, making my choice, the world explodes into a kaleidoscope of horrors. Images flash before my eyes, too fast to fully comprehend but leaving impressions of dread and terror in their wake. I see worlds where the laws of physics are mere suggestions, where nightmares walk in broad daylight, where every shadow hides teeth and claws. I feel myself being pulled apart, my consciousness fragmenting and reassembling in ways I can't understand. Am I still in my room? Am I in the graveyard? Am I everywhere and nowhere at once? Through the chaos, I hear voices. Some I recognize, the hooded figure from the mausoleum, the creature that first invited me in. But there are others too, countless whispers speaking in languages I've never heard but somehow understand. Welcome, they say. Welcome to the never-ending story. I try to scream, but no sound comes out. I try to run, but there's nowhere to go. I'm falling, flying, drowning, burning, all at once, in a realm where contradiction is the only constant. Just when I think I can't take anymore, everything stops. I find myself standing in a vast library, stretching as far as the eye can see in every direction. Each book on the endless shelves pulses with a faint light, and I somehow know that each one contains a horror story, some that have been told, others waiting to be discovered. An old man appears beside me, his eyes twinkling with an otherworldly light. "You've made it," he says, his voice kind but with an undercurrent of something ancient and terrifying. "You're now a part of the grand narrative, a living story in a universe of endless tales." What does that mean? I ask, my voice sounding strange to my own ears. The old man smiles, revealing teeth that are just a bit too sharp. "It means, my dear, that your journey is just beginning. Every choice you make, every door you open, every shadow you dare to explore, it all becomes part of the story. Your story, which will in turn become part of someone else's." He gestures to the books around us. All of these are connected, you see. One story flows into another, fear building upon fear, wonder upon wonder. And now you're a part of it all. I look down at my hands and gasp. My skin is translucent, and I can see words flowing beneath the surface, telling my story in real time. "Don't be afraid," the old man says, though his smile suggests he enjoys my fear. "Embrace it. After all, isn't this what you've always wanted? To be truly part of the stories you love?" As I stand there, trying to process everything, I feel a tug. It's subtle at first, but grows stronger with each passing moment. The library around me begins to fade, the books blurring into streaks of light. "Ah," the old man says, "it seems you're being called into another tale. Remember, every story needs a protagonist and an antagonist. Which will you be this time, I wonder?" Before I can respond, the library disappears completely. I'm falling again, tumbling through layers of reality, catching glimpses of other worlds, other horrors waiting to unfold. I don't know where I'll land, or what terrors await me. But as I fall, a realization hits me. I'm no longer just a reader or a listener. I'm no longer safe on the other side of the screen or page. I've become the story itself. A living, breathing tale of horror, forever seeking new chapters, new frights, new ways to keep the narrative going. And somewhere out there, in a world that now seems as distant as a half-forgotten dream, someone is reading about my journey, feeling that delicious thrill of fear while safe in their bed. As I hurtle towards my next destination, one thought echoes in my mind: this is just the beginning. The real horror is yet to come. And I'm no longer sure if I want it to stop. The story, my story, continues. Endless. Relentless. Inescapable. And somewhere in the shadows between worlds, I hear laughter. The Night Whispers app has claimed another soul for its never-ending narrative. The question is, who will be next? As my consciousness fades, merging with the very fabric of horror itself, I have one last coherent thought: be careful what stories you choose to let in. Because sometimes, the story chooses you back.